All right. Good evening, all you Rhode Island and New England sports fans. Welcome to another episode of Unapologetic. I'm your host, Chet, and to my right is my counterpart, Duffy. Duffy, how are you doing, my man?
What up, Chet? Nice to be back with you. Second week in a row.
We had our pilot last week. A lot of ground to cover, though, still going forward.
A lot of ground to cover. Lots to look forward to, especially this time of year, mid-January, NFL playoffs in its full strength. And we got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, obviously, like I said last week, I'm still decked out in my Patriots attire with the Patriots flag behind me. But fortunately, I can't really sit here and watch my favorite team go off in the playoffs this year. But we still got some good playoff football to talk about, which we'll get to. But of course, we got a lot of highlights to go over here on Unapologetic.
And I love that, quarter zip on you, Chet. Looking nice.
Yeah, dude. I gotta look fly for the show. What do you mean? So we got what's that?
Where'd you get that quarter zip from? Looks good.
Oh, my mother.
Making me kind of envious right now.
What's that?
Making me a little bit envious right now.
I don't know how much it was. So, go check it out. It's probably on NFL.com or some crap. Yeah. Anyway, some major headlines this week. We'll start off with the biggest one. This came out actually a couple hours ago. James Harden officially traded from the Houston Rockets over to the Brooklyn Nets. This is really something that's been speculating throughout the NBA since probably the offseason. Yeah. Even probably after the finals, there was rumors about this happening. So, Tim, why don't you weigh in on this? This is a huge deal.
Yeah, this is the biggest blockbuster trade we've seen in the NBA in a couple of years at least. James Harden, undoubtedly the most prolific scorer we have in the NBA today, averaging 30-plus points per game each of the last 3 seasons. The MVP just 3 years ago, and this is a Houston team that was number 1 seed 3 years ago, and now a lot of turmoil there. James Harden wanted out since the offseason, like you were saying, Chris, and kind of got his wishes today, getting traded to the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, and that's a huge move because obviously you pair him up with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. You got yourself an amazing team going out there. And now, I just thought
it's probably the Warriors with KD.
Honestly. And kind of talking to some of my friends, now they're thinking they're going to win the East, the Nets. That's their take on it.
Yeah.
Right now you got the 76ers in first place. You've got Boston in the mix also within the 3rd seed, I believe, 3rd or 4th seed. But Brooklyn, they're mid-tier right now, but I think that's going to raise their stock completely.
Yeah, they're mid-tier right now. Obviously, Kyrie Irving's missed the last couple of games, taking a leave from the team. But adding James Harden to this offense, which is arguably one of the best duos in the NBA, and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, adding Harden to this team, they're going to be seeing a lot of points scored. And this Nets team was already good before. They played the Celtics, I think, 2nd or 3rd game of the year, and they destroyed them in the Garden. And this team, on paper, should be able to run the East for at least the next 2 seasons. You have 3 of the top, maybe 10 players in the league, 3 of the best scorers of the generation. This is going to be a scary team. They gave up Karis LeVert, who was a great 3rd option for them. He was part of that 4-team deal. It was a 4-team deal. Karis LeVert got shipped to Indiana. Jarrett Allen shipped to Cleveland, and Oladipo is James Harden's replacement. Houston getting traded for the second time in his career, but big trade, humongous trade, and I think the Nets, they did give up a lot for this possibly only 2-year deal. I think Harden's contract is up by 2023, but they want to win now, and they're showing it.
And we look at Harden's contract. He signed over $200 million, which made him the richest paid player in the National Basketball Association. That's unbelievable for him. And this trade, obviously, it's a make it or break it deal for the Nets at this point because they want to win now. They've spent seasons where they've been one of the top picks in the NBA draft. And now at this point, they got to cash in. And I think they said it will be at least the next 3 or 4 seasons, their future first round picks will be given to Houston. Yeah. So, that's a lot that they're giving up. But honestly, when you're talking about a guy who's been the highest scorer straight seasons, it might be worth your buck, honestly.
Yeah, the Rockets acquired 4 first-round picks, and they got 4 pick swaps. So the Nets have a higher pick than the Rockets any of those years, and the Rockets have the right to trade with the Nets, which is unbelievable.
It really is, yeah.
We've seen this Nets management, over the last decade or so, give up a lot of picks. Remember that Paul Pierce trade back in 2013 where they Paul Pierce and KG and gave up, I think, like 4 of the next 5 years first round picks, and they helped build the Celtics to where they are today. But
Yeah.
the Nets, they had a talent. This is a way different situation, way more talented team already on paper. They have the best 3-headed spear in the league right now. I don't even know what else to say about it. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the only team you could obviously say right now that could compete with this team is the Lakers with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I mean,
the finals match without a doubt. So
it definitely will be. I mean, okay, that's the thing that really is a pet peeve of mine with the NBA. You already know who's going to be going to the finals.
Yeah.
And I mean,
in the NBA, it's all about talent, In the NFL, you got talent, coaching, weather, game plans, it's a whole different array of things. But in the NBA, the best team on paper is most likely to win. We saw the Warriors win 3 out of 5 years with an elite team. KD got 2 more rings. So, I mean, it's just crazy. The Nets, the best big three we've seen since that Warriors team, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to throw off the parity in the league a little bit the next couple of years because, we saw last year where in the bubble, it was pretty much fair game. And the number 5 seed Miami Heat reached the finals. I don't think anyone's going to go to Brooklyn this season and beat the Nets in 4 times in 2 weeks. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, it seems almost utterly impossible. I mean, things have been done before to make these games close, but at the end of the day, it's always the stacked team that prevails. And I mean, that's what's kept me away from the NBA for so long. Obviously, getting more invested, though, I think will help me be able to have a stronger argument in this. But of course, you see Harden go to a team that already has 2 big babies on it. So now that makes it a trio.
Yeah, 3 big babies. Hopefully,
disgust me.
Yeah, it is kind of disgusting. These are 3 guys in the league, 3 very polarizing figures in the NBA. Kyrie Irving has been under fire this last month or so for his, bad relationship with the media. Took a week of absence. He was seen on a Zoom call last night at his sister's birthday party without a mask while the Nets were playing. So, I mean,
wow.
There's a lot of dysfunction in Brooklyn right now. Harden has been a headache for the Rockets organization this last month or so. Hopefully they can, build that chemistry. But with this much talent, I just don't see any way that this team, doesn't end up figuring it out.
And it's crazy because you see John Wall gets shipped there, and it seems like he'd be paired up with Harden. But then you have Russell Westbrook for a season, and now he's with the Wizards. It's all over the place, this team. So at this point, I mean,
they got new GM too because Daryl Morey, their old GM, is now in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
he's also in the trade talks for Harden too.
Yeah, and I mean the Sixers already look like they'll be one of the top teams going into later into the season. But I mean, as of right now, Brooklyn looks like the best team in the East and the only team that could probably compete with the Lakers completely.
I absolutely agree.
Now, looking at other trade rumors going into the NFL, Deshaun Watson, that's somebody to keep your eye on. He had recently commented on his dissatisfaction with the Houston Texans front office and the lack of communication between him and, at the time, head coach Bill O'Brien. And now it sounds like he's ready to call it quits in Houston. So Houston could lose 2 of its key stars in the span of a few months. And you know what? I like it and I don't like it. And I'll give you those reasons why, Tim. Duffy, I'll let you weigh in on that.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson, he's seen a lot of dysfunction these last couple of years in Houston. Bill O'Brien given GM rights, ends up trading his best player for a bag of chips and a couple of napkins on the side. David Johnson, 2nd round pick. Obviously, that DeAndre Hopkins trade was maybe the biggest maybe the beginning factor in this whole array of, this just, I don't even know what to say. This Houston Texans organization is just a mess, and that's where it starts from.
It is. I get a migraine thinking about Bill O'Brien and those 2 pathetic. That pathetic trade. Just swapping for David Johnson. Are you out of your mind? Cardinals nearly made
2015.
Exactly. Cardinals nearly made the playoffs with D-Hop being their main weapon throughout the whole season. Yeah. Granted, Kyler Murray could spread the ball or bring the ball himself, but Hopkins was the go-to guy day in and day out going into a game.
They started from the whole season. In week 1, I think he had like 14 catches against the Niners, and you kind of just knew what they were going to do the rest of the season. Feed Hopkins, and this is his prime too. And when Houston got rid of him, I think that was just the start of the downhill spiral for the Texans. So,
yeah, and you look at them at the end of the season; they didn't look too bad, to be honest. They did, but they didn't, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Deshaun Watson started to click things together with his team, started to figure out what was going right, what was going wrong, and I'm pretty sure he finished top 5 in passing yards. So,
I think he was number 1 in the league. I think he had over like 4,800 yards and 33 touchdown passes, something crazy like that. But also goes to show the front office too. Sean said, besides the DeAndre Hopkins trade, Deshaun had a huge problem with them. They told him he would be in the hunt. He'd be in the help for the hunt for a new GM. They hired a whole search firm, hired them for hundreds of thousands of dollars to find, the right guy. And then, Texans owner kind of threw out the window and hired Nick Caserio, the Patriots, director of player personnel. And it was kind of just a slap in the face to Deshaun Watson.
It really was.
One of the biggest things that he was talking about too, or that rumors are spreading about, that's the biggest thing that he's had a problem with the organization as of late.
And I mean, you look at Deshaun Watson, you were correct. He finished number 1 in the league. 4,823 passing yards, 33 touchdowns in the air, and 7 interceptions. On a team that was literally bottom neck in the league.
Yeah.
You're looking at a 4-12 record, and this man led the league in a lot of statistical categories. And
without him, they're 2-14, or without him, they're picking first in the draft this year. No question about it.
But should they trade him? No. I say no. It would be cool to see him move. I don't want to see him to go to that rumored team known as the Miami Dolphins and see Tua Tagovailoa have to compete with him, which he has no contest. Tua's not that.
We'll trade him for Tua and like some picks too, which is, a trade that's been circling on social media recently. But do you really want to put Tua in that situation in Houston? I think it'll be a bad start to his career. He's already getting benched for Fitzpatrick late in games on Miami and ship him out to a dysfunctional Houston team. I think that's a recipe for disaster for his career.
It is.
I think there's an offer by the Texans or an offer which the Texans are willing to trade Deshaun Watson, I think a team jumps on that deal. I think if the Patriots are one of those teams, they got to jump on that deal too, because he's a better option than anyone you're going to get maybe in the draft. He's already an established quarterback in the league, leading the league in passing yards, top 5 in touchdown passes. He's an elite quarterback. So if a team is able to get him, and, whether it's give up 3, 4 first-round picks, I think you may take that chance.
You have to. I mean, there's no doubt that you have to. I mean, he is clearly one of the best quarterbacks in this league. Get it. The situation is not great, but I guarantee a big portion of it is just because of coaching, and of course that defense. That defense, crap. Most disgusting.
We saw it week 16 against Brandon Allen and the Bengals at home. They lost 37-34. They let him throw for like 350 yards on them or something like that. And defense just couldn't keep him in games. They were the reason why they lost a lot of games.
If the Texans had this Deshaun Watson like 2 years ago, they would probably be deeper into the playoffs or in games much longer. So,
maybe
I mean,
last year too, they jump up 20-0 on the road against Kansas City and end up blowing it. So,
yeah,
he's a different animal this year.
Totally different animal. Now, but it comes down to Houston. Do you want to rebuild? You have a franchise guy right there.
You kind of have to rebuild. You have a franchise quarterback staple of your team, but what else do you got? You got a bad coaching staff. You got a terrible defense. They're going to be in rebuild no matter what. And whether or not Deshaun Watson wants to be a part of that rebuild, that's where Texans are going to have to make a decision if they want to trade him or not.
Absolutely. Now looking into one final breaking news outlet for the NFL. Doug Peterson finally fired from the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh my God. Like, this guy sucked. I'm sorry.
What happened to him?
He sucked. I'm telling you, like, the NFC East, it's disgusting. But I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles, they fell apart completely after Carson Wentz and Nick Foles and all of them. I mean, it's frustrating to think about because this is a team right when Doug Peterson gets there, they go to the Super Bowl and they win the Super Bowl. Yeah, unbelievable, especially being known for 3 seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs as their high-powered offense, as their offensive coordinator. He managed to keep them going in a great trend. Then he goes to Philly, wins a Super Bowl right out of the gate, and suddenly, where does it go? It's gone.
Disappears.
What happened?
It was gone. That team was a team of destiny. We even talked about last year on our own podcast. This was we predicted, that would be the biggest one-hit wonder team of the decade, and it's really coming to fruition now. A 4-11-1 record this year as head coach. Doug Peterson played for a tie earlier in the year against the Bengals, played for a loss week 17 against the Washington football team. Now head coach. They go 13-3 that one amazing Super Bowl year. And, they've won 22 games since, which is crazy to think about. So it's just a disaster there in Philadelphia,
It's a disservice. And I mean, honestly, you could blame it on the injuries or maybe the players because, Zach Ertz's stock's completely fallen. People have lost faith in him. They say this is probably his last season. And then Carson Wentz, same thing.
My starting then last year, they were both my fantasy team.
Carson Wentz, his stock was soaring the year where he was the runaway MVP, tears his ACL, comes back the next year, looks okay, but then the rest of the way, completely fallen off. And to be honest, it could be injuries, it could be coaching, but at the end of the day, this Eagles team was a one-hit wonder. It was a team nobody had ever seen before, and eventually people game plan for it. And it just shows right there. I don't like this team.
They were very predictable towards the end of towards the last year or so of the Carson Wentz era. They didn't have a good personnel receiver, really. They didn't really give Carson Wentz help, to be fair. But at the end of the day, if you threw 15 interceptions and 12 starts, then you deserve to get benched. And he lost his job. Probably going to get traded this offseason. Really wants to trade. That whole Eagles team, to think they won the Super Bowl less than 3 years ago is really crazy to think about. And
it really is.
Firing Peterson will really help launch them into the next era of Eagles football.
Absolutely. Lost to history, but history is going to be made this Saturday and Sunday. When we come back, we're going to talk about the divisional round playoffs matches, Saturday's games, and then Sunday's games. And we're going to talk about what we see coming out of those matchups. So we'll catch you after the break. All right, welcome back from the break. We're back on Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy here on the Sports Fan Base Network, Rhode Island. I'm Chet, and of course, Duffy. We're back at it, talking about the divisional round games this Saturday. Nice to be back. So starting right out of the gate, we're going to talk about the Rams and the Packers. Now, this is a matchup I didn't see coming. I thought this would be Seattle. I thought Seattle would be in Lambeau, but you know what? The Rams defense, they played this team twice this year. And you know what? They figured out how to stop Russell Wilson. You contain that pressure. You go right for the O-line. The O-line is like thin paper on that team. It's disgusting. Yeah. And then you know what? They figured out how to contain him, and that's the point. You contain him. You destroy that pocket presence, and then once he has to scramble, you contain him. And because of that, he made a mistake early on, which put the Rams up 13-3 in the first or second quarter. I think it was the second quarter. But regardless, that team, it set
that screen pass, biggest play of the game, and it really put Seattle in a hole the rest of the way. They got down 10 there, and they really couldn't climb back up afterwards. Their offense was abysmal to watch. It was terrible to watch. Only putting up 13 points through 3.5 quarters. A team that was flying high the first half of the year. Russell Wilson looked like an MVP the first 8 games. I think he threw 26 touchdowns in the first 7 games. He was on pace for over 50, and just did not end the season like that. It was a terrible way to end the season for Seattle. They got to improve in the offseason. Kind of a one-dimensional team. If they're gonna throw the ball, it's going to DK Metcalf most likely, and they kind of knew that. The Rams, Jalen Ramsey shutting him down pretty bad last game. Couldn't really get anything going the entire game on offense. But that's why the Rams deserve to be playing this weekend, going to Lambeau Field, 6 seed versus the 1 seed. But I think we both are going to pick the same team in this one, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, so to preview this game, really, I mean, you're going up against Aaron Rodgers, the potential future MVP of this season. I mean, he's been on fire all year long. Threw for 4,299 passing yards, 48 touchdowns with only 5 interceptions. Near perfect QBR.
That's ratio of his career, which
It is.
37, 38 this year.
Yeah.
Unbelievable year by Aaron Rodgers.
It's a milestone for him, but this is not the only thing the team's looking for. They're in position for home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and it starts with the Rams. So this is a tough Rams defense coming in here, but you're talking about no Aaron Donald or Cooper Kupp for that offense. So, I mean, Jared Goff's running thin, and he was questionable going into last week's game. I mean, we said he was going to play regardless, Duffy, but I mean, we'll see if that really comes to ring in during this one, because they're going to need all the help they can get in this game.
Yeah, just like you said, they were running thin. They were running thin last week too. Jared Goff didn't even get the start last week. John Wolford got logged his first career playoff victory, which is crazy. He only played the first quarter or so before suffering that hit. But Jared Goff, came in last week strong, despite having surgery on his thumb 2 weeks ago, before that game. I think it was like 2 weeks around this time, but very gutsy performance by Jared Goff. I'm not going to sell him short, but with this Rams team looking thin going to Lambeau Field, playing the number 1 seed in the Green Bay Packers, who have been on an absolute tear the entire season, averaging over at least 33 points a game. I don't really see them, keeping pace with the Packers. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers has, struggled at home in the playoffs sometimes in his career, even in the playoffs in general. I think biggest thing for the Rams here, get the Packers off the field. Get some quick 3-and-outs if you can. Get some stops on defense and give your offense some momentum, because this Rams team probably not going to score a whole lot of points this game.
Yeah. So, and I mean, a lot of people were talking about, what about David Bakhtiari? He's going to be out for the rest of the year, and he's easily the league's best left tackle, the best guy that Aaron Rodgers can rely on in that pocket to not let someone sack him in these games. So, I mean, that's going to be a big presence there for the Rams pass rush if they really want to take down Aaron Rodgers. It comes down to that. But, I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers is too much of an improviser, too much of a guy who can stay in the pocket and stay calm throughout the whole game, that he's not going to fault. He's not going to have it. I mean, there will be some tough moments. I think this game's going to be a close one. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. If I had to pick a final score right now, it would probably be – it's going to be low scoring, in my opinion, because but I guess my final score right now, 28-24 Packers.
I think it will be a little bit more of a game, a little bit, more of a margin of a game. I think Aaron Rodgers throws maybe 3 touchdown passes, but I think those could be the only 3 touchdowns of the game for Green Bay. I think they're going to strike through the air like they have all season long. This Rams front seven, despite maybe missing Aaron Donald, they're still elite. They've been getting stops all year. They have, I think, the number 1 run defense in the entire league, only allowing around 80-something yards a game, behind Tampa Bay, actually. And number 2 pass defense, too, as we know. So they're going to keep it close for a little bit. They got a huge win last week on the road against Seattle. But I think Green Bay prevails in this one. I think they're going to win this game 27-19.
That's a good score right there. I mean, we'll see. I mean, for right now, I mean, the Packers, they get a week of rest. So who knows? Maybe the Rams
they get the only bye in the playoffs. So
exactly. So I mean, the Rams could catch them off guard. You never know. But I mean, for the most part, I think the Packers are just too complete of a team right now and too confident of a team, really. This is a year that Rodgers needs to win. Yeah. So I think they're going to do everything in their power to get him there.
Has not won a Super Bowl in 10 years. Think about that. Aaron Rodgers. The most talented quarterback ever.
Wow.
Most talented quarterback to ever throw the football, has not won a Super Bowl in 10. I'm trying to do this in the camera.
Yeah. And I mean, you talk about this to this.
10 years. Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, I see the Packers managing to not completely dominate a game, but I think they'll make some key stops and key plays that will shut this Rams team down and send them back to Los Angeles.
Yeah, and like we were just saying, it's going to be a low-ish scoring game. Rams don't put a whole bunch of points. If the Packers defense can just do their job a little bit, in my opinion, I'm not going to get this job done.
Absolutely.
The NFC Championship game.
Yeah. So looking towards the AFC, then that's going to be at 8:15. Ravens go to Buffalo. to take on the Bills. Josh Allen takes on Lamar Jackson. Whew. You couldn't have written this matchup any better. I mean, you look at Baltimore last week in Tennessee. They played unbelievable. They go down 10-0.
Unbelievable. 10-0. Yeah.
Because they were up 3-0. Lamar Jackson throws a very horrible interception. But then after the game, after that touchdown by A.J. Brown, they flipped the script. They started running plays that I didn't even expect. You see Patrick Richard get involved in the game, their fullback. He was second in targets behind Marquise Brown. That's unreal. So
that's crazy to think about, you know.
And then you see Lamar, and then Lamar's 48-yard touchdown run, historical. That's a historical stamp on this team going into the postseason. Josh Allen against the Indianapolis Colts. Colts had the momentum going into this one, swung back the other way going into halftime with those three crucial
that was
sideline catches. That shows you how accurate of a passer this man is.
That 4th and goal stop by Buffalo, and then that drive by Josh Allen, a 96-yard drive to cap off the first half with a rushing touchdown by him. If the Bills don't score there, then they might not win that game. You know, if they don't get that stop and score, you know, Colts went for it on 4th and goal from the 4. Michael Pittman couldn't hang on. The Bills just drove down the field and slapped the Colts right in the face there.
Oh, yeah.
Take the halftime lead.
And
like you were saying, the precision there, those sideline passes, some of the best passes that I saw all weekend and maybe in the league this year.
I know it. And I mean, something else that was to look at for the Ravens, imagine if the Titans did score after that missed field goal opportunity by Justin Tucker, which is almost unheard of.
That scared me because I had money on the Ravens, and then with my friend, we bet $12 in the game. When he missed the kick, I was like, wow. You know, when you see Justin Tucker line up for that kick, you're like, this is a given. You know, 52-yard, sunny out in Tennessee and Nashville. You think he's going to hit that kick, you know, wide right. But the Ravens defense came up absolutely huge last game. You know, holding Derrick Henry to average around 2 yards per carry.
Mm-hmm.
He ran for over 2,000 in the regular season. Ran for 133 against him in Week 11, and a ton last year in the playoffs too. And they just shut him down.
Yeah, I mean.
Huge game by the Ravens. They've won 6 in a row, and they are looking unstoppable right now.
So to look at this matchup, you got Stephon Diggs, you got Josh Allen, you got Cole Beasley, and then on the other side, you got Lamar Jackson, you got Mark Andrews, you got Marquise Brown, Gus Edwards.
Defense too. You know, defenses too on this field.
Yeah,
I think that, in my opinion, this is the game of the week. This is, you know, the Sunday afternoon game, which we'll get to in a sec, but. This is the AFC game of the week. This is a battle of two quarterbacks from the same draft class. Who's going to take the throne? You know, Lamar Jackson already an MVP under his belt. Josh Allen probably going to come in third for the MVP voting this year if he gets any votes.
Yeah,
but this is a huge game. A part of me wants to take the Ravens. Honestly, I just feel like they're hot. You know, they've won 6 games in a row. So is Buffalo. But
are you taking? So you're saying you're taking Baltimore?
On a low key note, that's who I'm feeling right now. That's my gut instinct right now. You know, it might change later in the week, but at the moment, I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens to win this game.
You know what, Duff? There may be some occasions where we do agree and disagree on the show, but you know what? I'm giving you the Oscar this week for best pick because you know what? I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens too.
You're picking them too? Best pick?
Baltimore Ravens. They look hot. They've looked hot going into the end of the season. You know what? I don't think that flame's going to burn out just yet. Josh Allen, it's the battle of the flames. And you know what? I just think Baltimore has much more fire going on in its furnace than Buffalo.
Yeah.
Going into this one. I mean, they're hungry. They showed it in Tennessee. That defense came up huge. Crazy. But it's going to take a lot of power to really overtake Buffalo in Buffalo. Because, I mean, their defense really, really played stout going in and out. I mean, towards the end of the game, they gave up some points to Phillip Rivers and the Colts. But, I mean, I think the Ravens are going to come out of the gate and surprise this team. I think they have what it takes to get it done.
I think so, too. But
plain and simple.
Buffalo, you know, they're a really talented team. They've won 6 games in a row also. I'm not going to sell them short, but
yeah,
the reigning MVP is on a mission right now. You know, to prove his haters wrong. You know, I was on the listening to WEI last night, and you know, I heard a take that Lamar Jackson was a glorified Tim Tebow, and I couldn't believe the blasphemy. You know, this is a reigning MVP, threw 36 touchdowns last year, ran for a ton of yards, 1,005 this year, I believe.
Mhm.
Quarterback ever with back-to-back 1,000-yard years. Josh Allen's a great quarterback. He had
I think Lamar Jackson is nowhere compared to Tim Tebow. I think that's a disgusting. That's just spitting on his name.
That was just disrespect.
This guy has
the guy who completed 47% of his passes his only year as a starter in the league.
He's guaranteed 3,000 scrimmage yards just based on his running and passing alone.
Yeah.
Give me a break. And guaranteed 20 touchdowns plus with his legs and his arm. Like, come on.
Probably 30 almost. So
the disrespect.
40 plus last year, 30 plus this year. He is an elite player in this league, and there's no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. And I think we can go to Buffalo. I think this is Buffalo's toughest game of the year, honestly.
It is.
Under the lights, their first primetime playoff game since at least the 1990s. They didn't even have primetime playoff games back then. Since the first primetime game for Buffalo, literally ever.
Yeah, basically ever. Besides the Super Bowl.
Besides Super Bowls, obviously, yeah. So those 4
anyways,
in a row,
a big reason why I'm picking Baltimore. I hate both these teams completely, but you know what? Yeah. Bills, just get out of here. I'm sick of seeing everything about the Bills. I hate that team till the end of days because, Patriots, baby. So
I hate them, but I felt bad for them for a long time for just sucking that bad. Basically our whole lives they've been trash. So good for them for making it this far, but my gut instinct tells me it ends this weekend at home for Buffalo.
Yeah, screw them. All right. So when we return, we're going to talk about Sunday's divisional round games, and we got some hot ones too, including where the former MVP goes up against a really interesting underdog. We'll get back to that after these messages. All right. Welcome back to Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy here on the Sports Fan Base Network, Rhode Island. I'm Chet, and of course, Duffy there on my right. So we're going to get back into it, looking at, welcome back, obviously, 2 minutes later. Looking back at what we were going to talk about in this segment. So going into Sunday, we're going to start off with the first matchup of the day, and that's going to be Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns head over to Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City to face Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Wow. I mean,
this one coming.
I lost a bet to you last week. Taking the Steelers again. Those damn Steelers.
Owe me $5 still. if you
I mean, it's $5, so you probably will never see it.
Yeah, probably. But
what's that?
Probably not. But different animal for the Browns this week. Big road win for them last week, beating the Steelers 48-37, and it really wasn't even that close to begin with. Got
28-0 in the first.
After the first quarter, when I was watching the game, I seriously couldn't believe what I was watching. I was like, wow, I'm really witnessing a Cleveland Browns postseason victory right now.
And they score a touchdown on the first play.
Yeah, literally.
It's literally like Super Bowl 50 all over again, or Super Bowl 48.
Yeah, it really was, especially that first play of the game. Snap over Ben's head. Cleveland recovered it. Carl Joseph with that big recovery in the end zone. But Cleveland playing a whole different animal this week, the defending champion Chiefs. This is going to be a weird game to predict, honestly. I think this game could either be really close or it could be a blowout, So,
yeah, honestly. Yeah. It could be a trap game like that Houston Texans game last year where Houston was up on them.
That really didn't even turn out to be a trap game. It was a trap quarter, maybe.
Yeah, trap quarter is what
trap quarter and a half.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking at this matchup, I mean, Patrick Mahomes has been beautiful all season long. 4,740 passing yards, 38 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. What a great ratio right there for him. I believe he finished third in the league in terms of passing yards. Oh, excuse me. But regardless, wow. Yeah, that's that pasta. Anyways.
Tacos upstairs waiting me after the show, but
keeping it with this. So, I mean, this game could really go either way because honestly, I'm stunned by Cleveland.
Me too.
After that playoff drought for nearly 20 years. Wow. What a way to start the new era of the Cleveland Browns. I mean, Baker Mayfield, Austin Hooper, Jarvis Landry. Imagine if this team had Odell Beckham.
Imagine,
but
Baker Mayfield has been great with Odell Beckham. He's thrown 20 touchdowns, just one pick since OBJ got hurt against the Bengals. But if he was on this team with the way they're clicking now, this game could go to Cleveland's way. I mean, it could still go Cleveland's way. They're 11-5 team. Can't undermine them. They're a very talented team, but going to KC to play the defending champs, that offense looking amazing week in, week out. They haven't had one bad outing really all season.
Yeah.
Maybe that Falcons game the other week, they only put up 16 points, but
and not to sell them short of the pass. You look at the run, you got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, two guys that went ballistic last week. Nick Chubb, since he
was on a mission.
He was.
On a big one this week.
Oh my God, baby. Like on that screenplay, he was just trucking boys all the way to the end zone.
It was like, when's he going to get tackled? When's he going to push out of bounds? And he just didn't. It was Pittsburgh's defense that first quarter and a half was terrible. That first half was atrocious.
It's crazy how much one mistake, like the snap from Marquise Pouncey,
team.
It just took the air out of them completely.
Just threw them off the rest of the game. They were down big the entire game, really, except they brought to within 12 at one point, and then they ended up scores 11, but they were never in it once. And the Browns dominated the entire game through the air, on the ground, just dominated them. Every run that first half, Trevor Hunt was going for like 10 yards, 11 yards.
This is where the Chiefs come into play big in this one. Go back to, I believe it was week 3 or 4 when Cleveland goes to Dallas and stuns Dallas. Dallas nearly came back, and that game a lot closer. I believe the final score was 48-38, or 37. Yeah.
And
so I mean,
Dallas was down like 24 that game or something.
They were
like that,
and it didn't take until the fourth quarter for them to come back. So the problem is this Cleveland Browns team has a weakness, and that's maintaining the lead. And you know what? Kansas City lives for a challenge like that.
Taking their foot off the gas pedal, too,
You got Patrick Mahomes, of course. You've got Travis Kelce. You got Tyreek Hill. You got You got Demarcus Robinson. You've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I guess you could say what's left of Le'Veon Bell. But, I mean, you know what? I think the Chiefs and Andy Reid are going to draw something out that we haven't seen, do something new that we haven't seen. I mean, this team is 12-2 after the bye historically. So, I mean, I think Kansas City has what it takes.
Villainous.
Yes.
He is a formidable against after the bye. Reno taking him down, honestly. I think he's incredible.
And then on that Chiefs D, I mean, you got Chris Jones, you've got Tyrann Mathieu, and on that Browns team, you've got Myles Garrett. I mean, you've got some key defensive pieces to keep your team in the game, but you know what? This is going to be a battle of the offenses till the end.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see Nick Chubb at least rush for 2 touchdowns, have over 100 yards this game. We're going to see Patrick Mahomes throw for not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 touchdown passes.
Maybe even 5.
We'll see what happens. But, I mean, for me right now, if I'm going to predict the final score, it's going to be won by a field goal. For me, this final score is going to be 38-35 Chiefs.
I was going to say 38-30 Chiefs. I would say 38-28 Chiefs. Chiefs by a dozen, maybe a late field goal to cement it at the end or something. But I got the Chiefs winning this game, and they're going to host their 3rd straight AFC championship. And not only, like you said, the Chiefs after the bye, they also rested the majority of their starters week 17 too.
Yeah.
So they've had like 3 weeks to prepare for this game.
They really have.
Against the Browns team, which is very good team. Not going to sell them short, but I don't think they're going to have this, firepower to go into KC and knock down the reigning champs. I just don't see it happening. They're going to keep it close for a lot of the game, I think. Kareem Hunt's on a mission. They're going to get him going. They're going to get Nick Chubb going, like you said.
Yeah.
In the end zone, establish the run game early for the Browns if you want to have a chance to win this game, but I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with that KC offense behind Pat Mahomes. Maybe throwing for 5, maybe 6. I'm not going to say 6.
Yeah, 6 is too much. Not this year, Cleveland. Not going to happen. Sorry. I mean, I love you guys to death, the Brownies. You guys are really blowing up over in Cleveland, and I'm not going to lie. I jumped on the bandwagon a little bit. I like what you did last week and what you did towards the end of the season because you know what? That Baltimore Ravens game, even though you lost by 5, that was pretty entertaining. You guys did a great job, but you know what? You blew it, and you know what? You're going to do the same thing against Kansas City because they are a much more complete and better team. So sorry, but better luck next year. That's my opinion on this game.
They're going to blow it. Maybe not, they're gonna blow it so bad. I don't really think they have a chance to win.
They're gonna maintain something. They're gonna maintain some competition.
They're definitely the underdogs without a doubt. This is maybe the biggest mismatch of the weekend. No, I'd say Rams Packers might be.
So if you're putting your money on a team for an underdog, don't do the Browns.
Don't do the Browns. Maybe that +10. I think the spread's at 10 right now. A lot of people stamping that KC -10, -9.5. I think it started at, but maybe take them Browns points because it may not be that much of a blowout, but KC will advance to the AFC Championship for the 3rd consecutive season.
Absolutely. So now looking towards the Sunday night game at 6:40, evening game, I guess you could say. But this, once again,
game of the week.
Brady back in primetime.
Week.
This could be. I mean, Tom Brady loses to the New Orleans Saints twice this year. He's 0-2. That's the first time ever Tom Brady has lost twice in a row, has been completely swept in regular season matchups against a divisional opponent. Bless you. Anyways, you look at Drew Brees. Drew Brees potentially said this could be his final year. So you know what? The Saints are hosting the Bucs for the 3rd time this year in the Superdome in New Orleans. This is going to be a great game because you're talking about 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, future Hall of Famers, going toe-to-toe to see who's going to go to the NFC Championship game. Because who knows, maybe the Saints may be in line to host it, but you never know. But looking at this, looking at this game though, Tom Brady and the Bucs absolutely on fire at the end of the season. I mean, Brady at age 42, 4,633 passing yards, 40 touchdowns, 12 picks.
That's crazy.
And then Drew Brees, I mean, injured throughout the season, but a solid stat line, 2,942 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, and 6 picks. This is a toss-up game, really, for me. I don't think this is going to be like it was when New Orleans went to Tampa and completely shut them out for most of that game. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think this game's going to be close.
It's going to be closer than the first 2 matchups, which the Saints won heavily, in each of those games.
I think
we've been for a Brees Brady playoff matchup for years now. Only chance we have for is the Super Bowl.
This is the one time.
Yeah, but here we are, and it's going to be exciting. We can book this in for that Joe Buck, Troy Aikman slot, on Sunday night.
Oh God, Jesus! I like them. I like them. I like them, but you know what? Jim Nantz and Tony Romo are my guys right now. They're the only commentators I can say I will consistently love listening to them talk about.
I like Collinsworth. I like
Sorry, can't agree with you there. Hate that guy.
Collinsworth. Chris Collinsworth is the smartest color commentator on television today.
Now here's a guy.
Who's gonna, go in the Superdome and lose, and that's Tom Brady. God. The Saints are gonna win this game for the 3rd time this year.
Wow.
And you watch the previous 2 matchups. The Bucs couldn't get anything going on offense the first 2 times. Week 1, albeit it was Brady's first game in this new system in Tampa Bay. They lost by 11. But that Sunday night game, I think it was in week 10, I believe. The Bucs just played terrible. They ran the ball 5 times the whole game and scored 3 points. So that's the biggest thing for the Bucs winning the Superdome. Establish the run game early. Don't be one-dimensional. But I think the Saints have their number already. And Drew Brees, going to be his last season in the league, most likely. He already has that contract lined up with NBC Sports after he retires. I think that defense is going to come up extra big for him this week. They got Mike Thomas back. He has his first touchdown of the year last week against the Bears, which is crazy to say. think about if I said that in the offseason, that Mike Thomas would have 1 touchdown by January 13th. Imagine that.
I mean, you'd probably just be a football genius at that point, just being able.
I'd
You'd be Father Time.
I'd have to be like inducting the Hall of Fame for my like wizardry to predict that,
Or Doc Brown from Back to the Future at that point. So looking at this game, I mean, Tom Brady, I feel like it's tough to say because at this point, I really don't think Bruce Arians is the coach of this team. I think Tom Brady's the coach.
Yeah.
Hands down. I feel like this is his team. It's been his team from start to finish. So it's tough for me to pick between the two, but honestly, to tell the Cinderella story, I'm going to have to go with Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints in this one. I think they will beat them for a 3rd time this season. And honestly, I'm making this pick on the fly. But I'm a person who changes his pick all the time. But for me, I'm going to solidify it here. I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints in this one just because I feel like they've got a lot to lose in this one because once Breeze is done, you can go to Taysom Hill.
In the rebuild mode at that point.
Give me a break.
Famous.
Yeah. No, that's disgusting. Get that out of here. But, I mean, looking at this, I think the Saints will be able to secure their spot in the NFC Championship game and potentially a run at the Super Bowl. And at that point, I mean, based on our picks, it would be the 2 guys with 1 Super Bowl ring are going up to see who can get their 2nd. But, I mean, I think Brady has what it takes to keep this game close, but I think the Saints will win this game by a final score of 28-26.
28-26. I think it's going to be a close game, close in the first 2 matchups, but I'm getting some Peyton Manning last Cinderella story vibes out of this one, from 2015. Limped up quarterback throughout the season, Manning and Breeze both injured in their respective last seasons because, to be honest, Breeze is going to retire for this year. There's already been reports before that Week 17 game the other week that this will be his last rodeo, most likely. I think they're going to play extra hard for Drew Brees. They had a huge game last week against the Bears. The defense dominated, allowed 3 points for the first 59.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think against the Bucs, it's not a similar story, but I think they're going to keep Tampa Bay in check.
Yeah. And, I mean, you look at the Bucs, they didn't really play great teams going down the line. I mean, you had the Atlanta Falcons Week 17. Last week.
They played them 2 times in the last 4 games.
I mean, the thing is like, I get it. The Washington football team makes the playoffs, but it's like 7-9. Who cares? That means nothing. Honestly.
You lost that game too,
You got in because everybody had a losing record. Not impressive. Sorry. So, I mean, looking at this game, Brady's going to have to get light a fire under that offense and defense to really get them going. Same with Bruce Arians. He's got to get his grasp around this team to get them to know this could be one of the final years we make a push for this because who knows what happens with Brady. But he always proves us wrong season after season. So, I mean, we'll see what happens
next year, allegedly. But
yeah, but
their probably best chance right now. Go out there and try to win. But I think they're going to come out of this one and move on to the NFC Championship.
Same here.
I mean, we're waiting for a Breeze Rodgers NFC Championship forever too. Either way, we're going to get a Brady Rodgers or Breeze Rodgers, assuming the Packers can win, which is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
For these next couple weeks in the playoffs, but those are my picks.
Yep. That's Chet and Duffy's picks right there. Thank you all for tuning in once again to Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy here on the Sports Fan Base Network, Rhode Island. You can check out these live streams every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So thank you all for tuning in once again, and we'll be back next week with some more good football talk. Until then, I'm Chet, and I'm signing off. Go Pats.
I'm Duffy. Signing off. Go Pats, and enjoy your Wednesday.